Hello. Good morning, everybody. We are going to start this session called Sustainability of Coastal Ocean Services. I would like to know if Audrey Hasson is online. Audrey, do you hear me? Actually, I'm replacing Audrey, and we are co-chairs. So she wanted to have a first introduction before I start, but I would like. Yeah. Nobody is online. Audrey is not online. Okay. Well, I'm going to start. So. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here. What I would like to say before starting is that this presentation will be recorded. So if you have any problem with it, please tell us. And the presentation will be published on the EuroGEO site. So I'm Muriel Lux from Mercator Océan International. And Audrey, my colleague who has prepared this presentation, is from Mercator Océan International as well, and she's leading the GeoBlue Planet EU office. Next slide. Okay, so we are about to talk about sustainability of coastal ocean services. So the sessions aim at understanding the need for sustained coastal services, from the Copernicus Marine Service to national and private service providers in Europe and globally. The objective is to give an overview of some key European service providers, to discuss their contribution at the local, national, and regional levels, and to provide guidance for the program of an upcoming workshop. So the floor will be open to questions at the end of all presentations and during the roundtable. So I would like to remind to the speakers to keep your presentation short so that we can have some questions afterward. And then if I raise my hand, is that we have to run a bit. Next slide. Well, we will have 4 presentations today. Gada El Serafi from Delta Res cannot join because of illness today, so it's cancelled. First, I will start with a brief presentation of the Copernicus Marine Service, the Copernicus Coastal Hub, and the Marine Forum. And then we will have the presentation of Andrea Tarameli from ISPRA about the member state vision of this service. Then Marion Sutton will present Detecting and Forecasting Sargassum, which is a project much more at national scale. And then Pedro Ribeiro will present Next Ocean, a project dealing with the next generation fishing and aquaculture services. And we will have the roundtable discussion with question and then open question from the audience. Well, I'm going to start with the Copernicus Marine Service. So what is the Copernicus Marine Service for this session? It is a sustainable service in support to coastal services. Next slide. Sorry. So yeah, you can go next slide. Well, the Copernicus Marine Service, I said it's a sustainable service since it has been implemented for several years. It has been implemented in 2014 by Mercator Océan International and the partners. It's accessible through this web portal, marine.copernicus.eu, and it provides a huge quantity of satellite in situ observation and 3D model for essential variables that are quality checked and delivered under the shape of data or indicators. We also provide trainings and powerful user support to accompany our users. And we have now more than 55,000 of subscribers. Next slide. In brief, the Copernicus Marine Service offer include global and regional ocean monitoring and forecasting information. We provide observation, as I mentioned, and numerical model that assimilate those observations. We provide datasets that are multi-year, real-time, and forecast information. And for all the essential marine variables that are what we call the blue ocean for the physics, the white ocean for the sea ice system, and the green ocean for the biogeochemistry. We are closely working with the Copernicus Space and In situ component, and we provide all this data over the globe at global scale, but also at regional scale with the area that are illustrated here. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have observation product, model product. The access to the product are free and open to anybody. It is based on a cloud-based infrastructure, the Marine Data Store. Each dataset, each product is accompanied by a description, a user manual of the product, a quality information document to help the users. And through our service desk, we can support any user in the use of the data. Next slide. Well, in brief, for the 21-28 period, the Copernicus Marine Service is an ambition plan aligned with the EU Green Deal and the digital strategy to remain a marine reference worldwide and to foster user uptake. The ambition is to maintain this sustainability of this service with incremental evolution driven by users and policy needs. The relationship with user and policy is really important, and this requires the sustainability of the service and all the downstream services that are developed around. We want to reinforce the link with the governance, the member states, and we do this through the Marine Forum. I will say a word just after. We want to start the coastal extension of the service with the member state. So the coastal downstream service are very important and must be sustainable for that. We want to reinforce the synergies with the other Copernicus services and EmonNet. And we do this through the thematic hub. I will say a word just after. And then the objective is to embrace the new capabilities of all digital services in synergy with the digital twin of the ocean and the Destination Earth initiatives. The last but not least, we prepare the post-2024 evolutions through our service evolution innovation activities. And one of the presentation just after is one of these projects. And we are also involved in the H2020 and Horizon Europe programs to facilitate this evolution of the service. Next slide. Now I will say a word about the National Collaboration Program. Next slide. Okay. Well, what we call the National Collaboration Program has a context. The context was a need to better support the EU member and contributing state activities, to improve the Copernicus Marine data uptake at national level, to develop joint work with Copernicus Marine and EU member and collaborative states, and to better understand each national context and expectation, because there are numerous. For the moment, the priority is focused on the coastal ocean with the plan to improve coastal zone monitoring with new product, new modeling system, much more synergies, the improvement of the existing modeling system. And we want to co-design and co-produce with member states and through the interfaces with Copernicus Marine Service, all coastal modeling systems that can contribute to the Marine Service. Next slide. In the frame of this national collaboration program, we have 3 objectives and 2 implementation phases. So the objectives is to reinforce the downscaling collaboration with national marine coastal monitoring activities, to support EU member and collaborating states with the implementation of EU policies and directives, and to support as well the transnational collaboration for coastal monitoring activities. We have 2 implementation phases. The first one, we have selected 15 projects, coastal projects that started in July 2023. These projects are existing coastal modeling system that we want to support to enter an operational phase for the Copernicus Marine Service. So it's a kind of proof of concept. And there will be a phase 2 that will start in 2025, but the call for tender will be published next year to go on with this, to go on with this, project. Now, I would like to say a word about the Marine Forum. Okay, what is the National Marine Stakeholder Forum? It's a consultative instance that we created in November 2022. The objective, it's the same, is to foster deeper interaction with member states to better understand the needs and the assets and their expectation. We want to co-design and implement action with member states in the coastal marine areas. And the expected outcomes, this co-design of coastal marine service with national entities. And we want to help to improve our proposition for the Copernicus User Forum as well, and the Space Program Committee. Next slide. Actually, we have in the Marine Forum 17 EU member and contributing states as a member. We have 2 meetings per year where we discuss needs and what will be the action. We will have also some working group from the end of this year. We have made a survey about the coastal modeling systems and so on. So it's a quite interesting Marine Forum. And if your country is not in the blue countries, you can contact us to see how to proceed to join. Next slide. Now I will finish with the Copernicus Coastal Thematic Hub. Next slide. So what is the Coastal Thematic Hub? It's DGDF's initiatives to enable new and existing users to take advantage of the full Copernicus offer. The Coastal Thematic Hub is not alone. For the moment, there are 4 thematic hubs to be developed: the coastal, the Arctic, the health, and the energy. Mercator Ocean is the interested entity for the implementation of the coastal and the Arctic hub. The coastal hub is already available at this address as a proof of concept. It includes thematic product coming from the different Copernicus services and dedicated to the coastal zone. Next slide. The idea of this thematic hub is to facilitate the access to data, and in being thematic, we expect that it would be simpler to have fit for purpose data, the relevant product, and not a huge catalog in which you cannot find which one is the most relevant for your application. It is really focused on EU policies. The idea is to facilitate the use at national and local scale, the use of Copernicus, to cross-fertilize between Copernicus service, and to facilitate the thematic collection of needs and gaps. Next slide. So to finish this transverse thematic window across all Copernicus service and grant segments. This is implemented through collaboration with DGDFIS, the interested entities, and KCEO. And we can find on this website also a selection of use case throughout the Copernicus use case and dedicated user support. In conclusion, so the Copernicus Marine Service and its related initiatives is a sustainable service implemented to support the development of sustainable coastal services. It offers ocean information necessary to feed coastal services, coastal interface. It supports such interface through its national collaboration program and the related user engagement call for tenders. It evolves thanks to its service evolution program and associated call for tenders as well. And it evolves following a user-driven approach and enlarge every year the communities of users to member states, policy stakeholders, and so on. And the idea is to be the most relevant for the future to help national stakeholders. That's it from me. Thank you. Now, Andrea, if you want to present, maybe, yeah, yes, we have prepared some kind of generic question, but I cannot pop me a question. But the idea is to ask to each of the speaker what is how to see the future of the project he present in terms of sustainability. For me, we are sustainable, so I won't answer the project. But now I will let the floor to Andrea to present the member state view of this. Thank you.
I can use this? Okay. So thanks to Mercator Ocean International for inviting me. So I will present the member state vision. It's it's talked by the Italian point of view, but it's discussed with like most of the other member states that are sitting in the Copernicus Committee and the user forum. So as was presented, we all agree that Copernicus, and in this case, the Marine Environmental Monitoring Services is a successful story, but it's still missing the last mile, because it was presented that there's, subscribers and users, but one of the major issues of all Copernicus services is the fact that the real end user are not yet there. So the point is, what is the member state view? We have to bring to the use of data and information of all the services, in this case of the Marine one and the Coastal Hub one, the real users, so the people that really don't have, let's say, a clue on what is Copernicus and how he produces information, but they are interested in the information. So this is something that is also stated in clear way from the European Court that said that Copernicus is a very successful program, but still is not in the last mile of the uptake. We still miss the real uptake. So the member state vision is that. So member state has set up what is the National User Forum. So it's a European law, and the European laws state that member state has to build a national Copernicus User Forum to do what? To disseminate, to collect, to stimulate a qualified, authoritative, and coordinated national uptake of all services. So in this case, we are keen to support also Mercator Ocean in the Marine Forum. So we delegate the person that is coordinating the national working table of coastal and marine areas to discuss with Mercator the evolution. And of course, the major issues is to support what is the real user-driven approach with respect to national and European space-based development. Member state doesn't want an evolution of Copernicus services that is led by technology. So it has to be led by user-driven approach, because the European regulation is stating that. So which are the user-driven needs that has to be solved? So in this, we have, and I'm going to focus on the coastal areas. There's, let's say, a white paper, a long-term strategy made by the European level. So the entrusted entities in this case were Mercator Ocean and the EA, how to have a roadmap for the evolution of Copernicus marine and land services to better serve coastal users. So that was a sort of proposition made by the European level, and member states organized themselves because coastal areas topics are really transversal to all the services. So you have data and information that are coming from the CMEMS and land services, but they are also coming from the C3S, that is climate, for the emergency, and from other like entrusted entities and like operational services, so security and atmosphere. When we talk about coastal areas, we are talking about like a very complex areas. So we have data and information that are coming from all the 6 Copernicus core services. So in this case, coastal applications are mainly left to the downstreaming sector. This is the major issues in the member state point of view. When you go to coastal, you are dealing with like member state and downstreaming sector. So it's crystal clear that member states do not want European Union having, digging into coastal problems with products that can be overlapping or in contrast with something that is already developed at national and local and regional level. So the point of view is really we have to find a threshold and a strong collaboration where, the boundary conditions are coming from the marine environmental monitoring system, and the downstreaming sector is really developed at national and local level. So in Italy, we have set up a roadmap to make sustained Copernicus uptake for delivering products in coastal areas. So you can see that it was a long way. And in this long way, we have involved the core services, but also all the national users to produce first a white paper with other member states at the European level, and a national position paper that is dealing what is already delivered at national level, what is the gap, and what is the evolution that national authorities and national users really want as an evolution. So you see that you have input from European level, input from national level, and of course, input from users levels, also the intermediate users. So in this roadmap, member state of the Med7, that is all the Mediterranean member state plus Portugal, have set a white paper that was presented at the Council at European level, saying that for the blue economy and the Mediterranean Sea and beyond, what it was really needed was a coastal hub. And that was presented during also the French presidency of the Council. And this has led a very strong support to the creation of what we have called the Coastal Hub. So dealing with like the implementation of the European Green Deal and the implementation of the blue economy. So the point was like producing data, information, and then knowledge and action. So which are the framework directives that can be, let's say, implemented at national level based on the coastal, thematic hub information that are delivered from the European level. And I will close with a slide in order to clarify this point. So the white paper and the coastal initiative has, let's say, more or less 4 main messages. First is sharing coastal data and information for use and reuse, not to produce again and again data and information that are already available. So measure once and use many times. So the Coastal Thematic Hub has this major goal from a member state perspective. Of course, find also an easy way to access the data. Also at Copernicus level, at European level, is not always so straightforward where to get the data and which are the last available data and so on. So what member states are asking is a very easy way of accessing the data. Of course, the other main message was from all these member states was harmonization of local coastal products across member states. Of course, what is produced in Italy maybe has some differences between what is produced in France, Spain, and whatever. So there's a need of an harmonization. And then identification of user needs, starting from institutional market. Copernicus was born for institutional user first, and then we can go to the market. So which are the major issues for institutional user that can be solved? So member state wants that the user forum, national user forum, and the European user forum is really taking into account for the Copernicus evolution of the services. In this case, the Marine Forum is a piece of this cake. And of course, a call for action. Really, the white paper was asking for setting up a Copernicus Costal thematic hub. So in this case, I'm always underlining that a bottom-up approach for member state was really supportive to Mercator Ocean to have a strong support from member state to create this thematic hub. That is not an overlapping, but it's something that has to be let's say, a simplified way of having all this information. And of course, to do that, in Italy, we have started to have a national position paper on coastal areas. So while the MED7 highlight the importance of knowledge-based approach, there's a real need to understand what is available and what is already under development at national level. So we have created a national position paper. The working table of the Coastal User Forum is made almost by 120 end user that are bringing experience. I'm not going to details. In the presentation that we leave, you have some slide for these details, but we have done a survey. I'm an institutional user involved in the Mirror Copernicus survey aimed at participants to the coastal discussion group, and of course, finding what is the offer that is already available also from the industry perspective, because there's a lot of things that are already developed also in the industrial market that has to be taken into account. So what is the gap between the offer and the needs of the user? So institution, research, but also commercial entities that are participating to that. And this is delivered to Mercator Ocean, but also to all the member states in order to verify which are the things that are under development. And this is the last slide. But before going in details of the last slide, it's really important to understand that when we talk about users, we are not talking about intermediate user, that they already know what is a coastal product and so on in terms of like satellite and so on. The real user are people that are using the information, not the data. So the uptake will be done only when he has no clue about what is the data behind the information will be used. And this is a practical example. Italy is really supportive of what is the ocean state report that Mercator Ocean is delivering. And this is important to clearly define roles in this case of implementing the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. So what is things that has to be supported from European level and what has not to be because it's not useful. So data catalog is something that is really useful in the implementation of Marine Strategy Framework Directive. The general overview of marine basin features and trends, this is very important because a national level and local level cannot deliver this type of information. But then when you go into the implementation of Marine Framework Directive, the process information layers tailored to the implementation of the Framework Directive cannot be done by the European level because there's accountability from national authorities. If you go in that direction, this can generate confusion and who is taking the decision. And this is important because we have participated with like several entities with like Horizon and H2020, also with Mercator, producing very good proof of concept. But when you go to operation, the proof of concept has to change to what is an operation. So it's not any longer a research. It's something that is binding to decision that national civil protection or other entrusted entities at national level has to take decision. And this cannot be done from a research perspective. So it's a change of paradigm. So if you really want, and the member state view, if you really want operation using data information from European level, you have to find a very clear boundary position where the boundary conditions are set at European level, but the decisions are made at national level. Thanks. I don't know if there are questions or.
Yes, the question of sustainability is not about sustainability is not maybe adequate. But thank you for this presentation. It's quite interesting to have this vision of the distribution of tasks, and maybe we could discuss that.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, Marion Sutton from CLS will present detecting and forecasting sargassum. Marion, are you online?
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
You can proceed.
Okay, so you're sharing the slides.
Yes.
So good morning. I'm Marion Sutton from CLS France, and I will now tell you the story of the development of a service on detecting and forecasting sargassum. So please, next slide. Okay, thank you. All right, so sargassum is a problem that have occurred since more than 10 years now in the Caribbean. So before 2011, there was not much sargassum in the Caribbean. But now, since 2011, we have seen a huge sargassum mass trending in the Caribbean region, in West African countries and the Gulf of Mexico. And these strandings have strong societal and environmental impacts. Next slide, please. Just to give you an overview of the users that are impacted by this sargassum influx. So you have the public authorities who have the mandates in public beach management and public health management, in charge of cleaning the beaches and monitor the H2S concentration. The tourism sector is also impacted as the sargassum ruins the visual aspect of beaches and uses for nautical activities. And tourism is a key source of revenue for most countries in this area. Fisheries can also be impacted as fishermen can be trapped in port by the sargassum. The operation and safety at sea can be also, sargassum can be a problem for this domain, as small size vessels can be trapped in the sargassum mats. The sailing boats in sailing races are also used to deal with the sargassum, but it can occur some difficulties for them. But at the contrary, you also have other type of users looking for the information on the sargassum for either valorization. So there's a lot of development around collecting sargassum to try to valorize it. And the sargassum, floating sargassum, offers the wildlife protection when it's floating at sea. Next slide, please. So regarding considering all these users and needs, there is a need to monitor the situation of the sargassum at Atlantic basin and island scales. And for this, the satellite technologies and the drift models are key tools to help the mitigation. It helps to anticipate the size and the timing of influxes of the sargassum to correctly size the responses. Next slide, please. So how did we come out with this service? So we initially started with the two founding projects. First one supported by the ESA in the frame of the EO Science for Society call, open call. And during this first project, the objective was to valorize the satellite data to answer a need from the society. And we developed the SAM2 service, the SAM2 system, SAM2 for sargassum monitoring. So in this SAM2 system, we valorize the satellite data from a lot of space agencies, many different satellites. We finally used 6 satellite sensors, including medium and high resolution sensors, to detect the sargassum at sea. Coupled with the drift model It allows us to forecast the trajectory of the Sargassum for the next 5 days, and all this information was provided or is provided to the user through an operational and scalable service. Now, the second project, if you next slide, please. So the second founding project is the E-Shape EuroGEO Showcase project, which started approximately at the same time. And in this project, we were looking for expanding the user community to scale up the system from a service from an operational to a seasonal planning system. So thanks to the E-Shape project, we expanded our communication and co-design actions with the users and expanding the use of the system. And so since 2019, we had more than 60 users of the system in more than 12 countries. So as you can see on the right, you have a list of these communities, of different communities of users, and you can see that there are different types of users. And from half of them, you find a good component of users from university and scientists, but also needs from private companies for collection at sea or for management of the problematic at a coastal level. Next slide, please. So after these two founding projects, the conclusion of these two projects was that we could define two different types of users and two different types of needs from the communities, from the end users. The first real need is really to support the international public sector by sharing the satellite detection products with the scientific communities to help the research projects on the topic. This should be sponsored by the Copernicus Marine Service and the CNES, and we actually have two projects ongoing now to fill this gap. So the SOTA project, which is within the Copernicus Service Evolution frame, in which we are improving the Sargassum operational detection algorithm. And the second project, which is in the frame of the Space Climate Observatory, the SCO, financed by the CNES, and in which we are entering a phase of sharing the satellite data produced by CLS and to share it with the scientific community through web portals such as Aviso or the GeoBlue Planet Sargassum Hub. And in this CSAM project, we also will work on operationalization of the seasonal forecast, which will be produced by the IRD. Next slide. And to complete this offer to the other end of the end user, there's also a need to support operational actions for Sargassum management with the SAM tool, so with the commercial system, because you still have people and users needed to anticipate the Sargassum influx and landing for coastal management and cleaning operation. You have also private companies looking at localized Sargassum mats at sea for collection and valorization, or willing to estimate the amount of Sargassum for valorization. So this is the SAM tool here, in this case, would support the development of the private sector. And to conclude, in the next slide, please. So to conclude, the Sargassum forecasting service is a real need from the society. And in this case, the Earth observation data is a key tool to answer this problem. It really allows to valorize the space data to answer a real need from the society. But there's a need to support two different types of users, the public and the scientific sectors through the international and European actions, and also the need to answer the different needs from the private sectors with adapting some private services. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you for this brilliant presentation. And I would have a question regarding the sustainability of this service. This is a very useful service and needed service. You mentioned several next steps, but what is for you the the best way to sustain such service.
Okay, thank you, Muriel. Yeah, as I mentioned in my last slide, so we really identified two different needs for this for accessing the data on the Sargassum monitoring. And I think that, or we think that to answer these two different types of needs, there is two different types of sustainability that needs to be taken. And for providing the data, open data to scientists, this should be probably integrated in Copernicus Marine Services or equivalent services to allow the wide, large scientific community to access the data and to provide researchers, but still to answer the needs from the user, from the commercial users. We think that CLS as a private company should be providing some added value services to the final end users. So maybe just to continue on the talks from Andrea, I think there's a thin threshold between what the Copernicus services or Costal services will offer to the real end users, and where do you define the limit, or how do you agree, or how do you work with private companies that will also, or that are already providing some services to the end users?
Okay.
So today, yeah, we think that it's a private company today are willing to provide services to the people wanting to do some business with the Sargassum.
Okay, thank you, Marion. Now I would like to call Pedro Ribeiro to join, to come to the scene and to present the next presentation is Next Ocean, Earth Observation Service for Sustainable Fishing and Aquaculture.
Can I use this? Okay, thanks, Muriel. Thanks for inviting me, Mercator, to this session. I'm going to present this project, which is very connected to the theme of this session, the sustainability, the commercial sustainability of these services. But I will start with previous project, because we actually were a part of eShape project, which was just mentioned by Marion. Within eShape, Demos, which is my company, we were leading the water showcase with 7 different pilot applications. And we benefit a lot from eShape's co-design framework. It was really a very interesting experience. It allowed us to understand much better the requirements and how to approach stakeholders, different types of stakeholders. Also, the sustainability and communication actions from eShape were very important for the outreach and to create more awareness for the type of services that we were providing in the showcase. On the other hand, different experience of the different pilots that we had in this showcase raised some issues, like the use of the DS platforms was a bit complicated a lot of times and not reliable enough for operational service. And also a lot of this the services in the showcases were using sensitive data, in situ data, or data that is provided by national authorities. And this is quite complicated to manage. So this was the experience in eShape, and from that experience, we decided to upscale these services that Demos was developing, were services related to fishing activities. We decided to incorporate that in a new project, which is called Next Ocean. So Next Ocean is a H2020 project that was funded and initiated in 2021. And we have a set of different partners with different profiles. And the main objective is to develop, developing together with the users this set of Earth observation-based services to support fisheries and aquaculture. And all of that in a very commercial-oriented perspective. So that's the idea, that we would enable these decision makers to use the services and to actually purchase these added valued services. And how to do that? We built a marketplace to host all the services from different service providers. And what you can see here is a very, very short summary. Of course, I could go in much more details about the services and about how they are being developed, but I don't, in the interest of time, I'm just showing here what is the marketplace. It's already available, so you can now access it, and it will provide a lot of different information, and you can get credentials for it and start experimenting with the services. We have 3 services oriented for fisheries. One is characterization of fishing areas, which is largely based on Copernicus Marine Services data. And then we have fish provenance and eco-labeling, which is based in AES data. And fisheries monitoring surveillance, which is oriented to detect illegal fishing. And then on the aquaculture, we have monitoring of aquaculture structures, also using radar data. Site risk assessment, which provides a lot of meta-ocean data and also oil spill the statistics. And fish farm impacts, which provides a drift model to understand how the any litter that or any pollution that is resultant from aquaculture operations, how it will move in the sea and what it will impact. Since this is this session today is about value, about sustainability. I want to highlight this aspect of the project because we have a two-way sustainable value proposition in the project. From one side, of course, the consumers have access to a set of different services in one place, and they can get all this information, which is all validated. And you have accuracy estimates, and you have all the associated information about the services in a competitive price, and even bundle different services together. And for the service providers, also the marketplace offers a quick way to publish their services and market them, and making it available for the market. And in a way, reach a new set of users in a global scale. All of that is done in an automatic fashion, so using electronic forms, and it should be quite an easy process to integrate. And this was quite challenging, so we were, of course, relying on different techniques, different methods. For sure, co-design was a fundamental element of this project. Since the project started in 2021, you can imagine it was largely affected by COVID. So we had to rapidly adjust to online environment for co-design, which comes with a lot of challenges, but also comes with some advantages in terms of reach. You can actually reach out to users that are far away. So it's quite interesting. It kind of changed the scale that the project was aiming to focus. We were initially focusing on Europe, and now we have a global focus. Largely due to these problems with COVID. And then, of course, you have integrations platform, and this is quite a technological aspect of the project. You have this Earth observation exploitation platforms with different modules that allows for integrating data and services and actually operate them in a very automatic fashion. And from the value proposition part, we had one partner, which was an economics school, which was really bringing this value creation wheel. It's a set of techniques to drive the innovation and to create value from these new products. But I want to highlight some challenges that from this experience, which I think are quite important for the topics that we're discussing here today. And if we're talking about sustainability of coastal services, we need to understand a lot of different issues that can affect this. So considering the technical framework, as soon as you start talking to users, you perceive the limitations from Earth observations. Of course, and I'm talking here about resolution, revisit time, or I can give examples. For instance, for vessel detection for illegal fishing, radar data works very well. But the revisit time is not enough for a complete monitoring. So it puts us in a strange position to have to justify the services, and probably the services cannot fulfill the whole expectations from the users. On the other side, to maintain an operational service in a cloud infrastructure at every time, at every with no fails, it's quite challenging. You actually need an operations team in alert, let's say, easy to assess and easy to support the services. It comes, of course, together with a help desk support. So it goes beyond just the technical operations, but you also have to have people that have a lot of knowledge about the services, about the issues that these services are addressing, so that they can answer these users. Then when we talk about the business models, there's also a lot of different issues to think. We start about thinking the target customers. So there's this, I've heard a couple of times already in this conference, this discussion about going to the end users or going to the intermediate users that will integrate your solutions in their own framework, in their own technical solution. It is for sure two different markets, and you kind of have to make a decision at some point to go to intermediate users and instead of going directly to end users. And that's kind of the way we went. On the other hand, the legal framework, and I'm talking about a partnership here, which should go beyond the project that's being funded by the Commission. Of course, the partnership should go after the project. It should continue. This should become a legal entity, and you have to put in place this agreement between these partners that have very different commercial interests, which a lot of times are competitive between them. So it's quite challenging. And the cost and pricing models are also quite difficult to understand. If you're talking about innovative services, there is not much base to compare. So you cannot really base your pricing models on market research. You need to discuss this with users. And of course, you need to consider the cost structure, which in some cases is quite hard. It's my last slide. Just to give an example, the AES data is quite hard to precise the cost that you have for depending on the request that you make. So this affects the price of the services. And finally, that's the main one, to bridge the gap between these potential buyers and the service providers. And this has a lot to do with co-design, but actually goes beyond that, because we are here talking about sales. So you also need to understand the operation, how you need to deliver the services, and the frequency, the value, all of that has to be defined. And of course, this starts with the use cases definition. Co-design methods, like I said before, was largely affected by COVID. So there's a lot of room here to evolve. I think with large language models now, we have an opportunity also to have automatic collection of user requirements, which we didn't have before. So we should start thinking about this. And finally, this relates to what Marion commented in her presentation, the market segmentation and the funding options. You need to think if you're going to the public sector, if you're going to the private sector, or you're actually doing other type of, look for other options for funding. I'm sorry, I had this last one with service customization. We start with the marketplace concept, but it's very hard to have services that are one size fits all. So every time you talk to the users, there's some degree of customization required, and you have to try to accommodate that within your project, within your services. And this is not always possible, depending on how much you need to customize. And that's a wrap. Thanks.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for this presentation. And you're right, it's interesting that you mention also the tools, because we don't only talk about data and the services, usually that it's not only data, it's integrated or diagnostics or answer to a problem. So, and sometimes this is a tool to exploit the data. So thank you. And regarding these activities, the Next Ocean project, what would be the next step in terms of sustainability?
Indeed, this is a big discussion. We have 2/3 of the project already gone now. So we are going for the last year. When, for instance, what I said about service segmentation or customization, that's the time to work on that. So our last year will be dedicated to one-to-one meetings and work with different customers to actually try to provide something that's useful and brings a lot of value and then can become a commercial service. That's the main goal, to keep running the marketplace with commercial services, but we foresee that we will have to do a lot of customization in order to do that, because a lot of the concepts we had in the beginning of the project, they proved not to be the best. So a lot of times we shift from one main target customer to other target customers. As an example, we were thinking of having fishermen as customers for fishing services. It is quite challenging. On the other hand, certificators of fishers are much easier to approach, and they can actually see the value. So it's about customizing and keeping the marketplace running as a commercial service.
Okay, thank you. Now it's time to have the panel discussion. Maybe Pedro and Andrea, if you want to join at the table. So we will have first maybe a few dedicated questions. Maybe Audrey, if you are online, if you have a question to ask to Pedro, Marion, and Andrea.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, and after that, the question will be open to the audience. So if you have question about the presentation or any question you can have about the Costal service, you will be able to copy. Okay, thank you, Audrey.
Great, thank you, Muriel. Can you just go to the next slide, if you don't mind?
I have no next slide.
Okay, then it's not updated. It's fine, no worries. So I just want to thank you first for moderating for me, because I couldn't make it all the way to Bolzano today. And I want to thank also all the speakers. Of course, you included Muriel, for giving us a really good overview of the activities and really how this answered the need for sustained coastal services from the Copernicus Marine all the way to national and the private sector. I think it was really interesting what we could hear also about the different users from the higher level all the way to intermediate and all the way to end users and commercial use. The first question is for you, Muriel. I don't know if maybe you want to join Andrea and Pedro on the panel. I can only see the two speakers. Perfect. So I guess, Muriel, since you're working for Copernicus and through Mercator, and we're talking about higher level users like national countries working for maritime spatial planning or national adaptation plans. And my question goes, these maritime spatial planning requires data beyond the marine service. Can you please tell us a bit more about how Copernicus can provide in a sustainable way the data needed for MSP beyond the physical boundaries? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Audrey, for the question. It's a very difficult question. Actually, maritime spatial planning is one of the European directives, and for me, it's the end of all the directive, because it must include all the constraints of all services and all the socio-economic challenge and all the environmental challenge. So this is an objective. I'm not sure the Copernicus Marine Service can answer this question alone, but we have to think about this special planning to help member states to have the good data and the downstream service to have the good data to be able to combine all of this information to support the decision maker, because decision maker, they don't want to exploit data, they want answers, they want to have some diagnostics, some indicators, and then to combine them to have an answer. So for me, this maritime spatial planning is the last goal, the last objective of all of this. And it's not so simple. And I guess that we will be able to discuss with all the community to make our service interoperable so that everything can be combined and help.
Thank you, Muriel. Yeah, I think I think you're right, and I heard it in the previous presentations as well. It all goes down to the co-design to transform the amazing data we have available into information that is usable by states and various users. The next question goes to Andrea. How do the coastal roadmaps that you presented meet the user needs and aim to provide sustainable services at the local to national levels, please?
So thanks for the question. As I was already presenting, member state has looked to the roadmap and have started a gap analysis on what is covering and what has to be delivered and developed. So in order to have a sustainable implementation of the coastal roadmap, it's really important that the marine services is really looking to what are the, let's say, national white papers showing what is already at national level and what is really missing. As you were saying, for sustainable services, it's really important not to overlap what is already, present at national level. If you have a coastal thematic area, you really have to figure it out what are the real end user. I'm always underlining that because I think there's a lot of confusion in that. Users are the ones that really need the information. Intermediate user, and these are, the most higher number for all the entrusted entities, are sort of like providers. So for a sustainability of the services and of the implementation, is really important to move forward, shifting from intermediate user that you still have to keep to the real end user. This is not yet done. For a sustainability of the services, this is the thing that the uptake strategies has to take into account. And this is really important. I add another issues. As you may know, the member states are really, let's say, nasty to the European Commission because the uptake strategies, it's very unclear. We don't agree on the fact that the uptake is taken, let's say, only on predominantly by EUSPA. It's really important that entrusted entities that are delivering the services really work with member state in the uptake strategies. Otherwise, it will be a huge failure and there's not going to be a sustainability. The approach that EUSPA and the Commission are putting on the table officially is producing, again, new platform for sharing the knowledge and the data and so on. This is not going to succeed anywhere. And Commission and EUSPA will present the platform, this new fancy platform, by the end of the year. This is not the way. So I'm really strict in that. And trusted entities, in this case, Mercator Ocean, has really to work with member state and end user if he wants a sustainability of the service. Otherwise, this will be a big failure.
Thank you for your very clear and poignant message. I will move on to Pedro now. He gave a really interesting presentation from a very private perspective. I don't see you, but I can see your shoulder. Deimos was both in charge of managing the water e-shape pilot and was implementing one as well, as you presented. You showed some, pluses and minuses, but I wanted, if you could repeat with your experience, what was the key elements provided by e-shape, so a program from EuroGEO, that lead to the shift from pilots to sustainable services, and that could be implemented in the future for further sustainability.
Okay, thanks, Audrey. Indeed, I mentioned in my slide about the shape, the importance of co-design. For if I had to select just one point, that would be probably the one. We had a colleague from Ramins, which was developing her PhD at the project, and it came with a lot of insights and a lot of new knowledge that supported the work from all the partners. So co-design was definitely a very important aspect, but I want to highlight another one which I didn't have in my slide there, and it connects to what we are actually doing here in Bolzano. It's the community aspect. because when you put together a lot of different pilots, and eShape had 37 pilots, and we can actually see the experience from our colleagues and learn with those. This is quite important. This cross-fertilization between different topics is quite important. Sometimes I can learn things for coastal services that just by watching some presentation on agriculture service. So the community aspect from eShape, I think, was quite important, and I'm happy to know that we are continuing this with EuroGEO, and I think this should be kept alive and with the action groups and everything else really active, so that we can learn from each other. I think that's a good way of working.
Thank you, Pedro. I think, yeah, that's a really fair point that you're saying that, and I think that's also the power of Geo and EuroGEO work plan, is that we're trying to put together, you know, people to realize that the issues that we're facing for the land surface can be helping the issues that we're facing for the ocean or for the atmosphere and so on. So thank you very much for mentioning this. Marion, so I wanted to ask you, the CLS, as you presented as a private company, has put together an operational chain for monitoring sargassum based on both institutional and private funding, including eShape, but also Copernicus money. How do you see this model being sustained in time, and what are the lessons learned from this implementation? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Audrey, for the question. Yes, I think that CLS is a private company, and our core activity is to develop services by valorizing the space data. So when we started to do the monitoring of the sargassum, it is part of this activity of developing new services. But at CLS, we also have another position. So we have a dual position in the space sector, as we are already providing data to the Copernicus Marine Service, so such as the sea level data, for example. So we are at the edge, I would say, between the already institutional aspects of the data sharing, but also commercial aspects of developing applications. So when we started to develop the sargassum service, we realized quite early in the process that there was this dual needs, two needs from institutional and from private. And we also realized quite early that the private sector would not be able to sustain on its own the cost of maintaining the operational costs. This is mainly because the problem affects small islands in the Caribbean. So on their own, they don't have the enough funding to sustain the full system, which answers the needs at the regional level. And there may be some lack of regional cooperation and coordination in the area, in the Caribbean and wider area. So it's difficult to talk to a regional or cooperation entity. So when we realized that the private sector would not be able to sustain the system, then it became clear that we needed to probably look at both type of sustainability. So one, going to the institutional funding from Copernicus to answer the needs from the institutional and scientific sector, but also keep the contribution from the private sector should remain, because they are going to do some business about sargassum. So we still need to provide them some commercial service to sustain their commercial activity. So I think it has to be a duality of the sustainability aspects.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will give back the floor to Muriel so she can moderate the questions from the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey, to launch the discussion. Now we can answer some questions from the audience. Should you have some? Okay. Or online, if there is people online, you have to raise your hand and or ask the question in the chat, and we will answer it.
Thank you. I'm Thierry Anchin. I was the previous coordinator of eShape. So I had a very nice introduction from Pedro. And I would like to have the feedback from Andrea on its view on EuroGEO and how he can imagine or recommend or give his feedback on the different interaction we could have within EuroGEO with national activities and also with you, Muriel, for the Copernicus Marine Service, how we can organize the community and support also the series of activity you have. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I was, talking during other speech with Marco Mancini that was asking more or less the same question. The way we have structured the National User Forum, but also, the discussion with the European User Forum is the fact that we have some working table to discuss, and EuroGEO can participate in this working table at national level. Actually, in the uptake strategies, all the member states have officially delivered a white paper, a position paper, that we really we do not want to discuss with the European Commission. We are asking the Commission to set up a transversal funding uptake scheme where member states with the also research community can propose some action to discuss for the evolution of the services. So, EuroGEO can make first, a sort of like supporting this proposition from member state and then participate active. Of course, we are not, let's say, I was in Brussels last week. What we have said to the Commission, members that don't want to discuss with the Commission about like this possibility. There's a need. So we must need a transversal, let's say, collaboration program between member states where also the scientific community, and EuroGEO is one of that, can really propose some bottom-up proposal that the Commission has to take. So make the vice versa. It was we have, delivered this position paper in April. We have already discussed with the Commission in Stockholm for the 20 years of Copernicus in the user forum. We had another discussion last week in the user forum. So the Commission was start to say, okay, let's put another discussion point in December. Member states have said no discussion. That is a formal request. So the position paper is official. It can be delivered. I think that if you go to I'm not the only Copernicus delegate these days here. There's the French, the German one, the Finnish one, and so on. So this is a position paper that can be shared. And, supporting that, saying to the Commission, also EuroGEO can really participate in an active way to this transversal. These are, to be funded from the Commission. It's a strong way where EuroGEO can be officially involved in that. So that is my suggestion.
I would like just to add a comment about this coastal component finally. Yes, I mentioned that we have started to enlarge the Copernicus Marine Service to the coastal component. Actually, what we discussed with the member states, it's how to support them to develop these national services. We don't want to replace the national services, but maybe help them to evaluate or to evolve, sorry. And the idea is also that when we discussed with the member state, there was a need for transnational collaboration because some member states have not the same modeling capacities and so on. And there is also a need to support the transnational collaboration, and this is our objective. After that, we don't. Our objective is not that the National Coastal Service become new providers of the Copernicus Marine Service. This is not but if they want to share coastal data on our platform, not maybe a secondary catalog, it could improve the uptake of a private sector or create new users of this high resolution data. And this is our purpose, to enhance this community of users. So
I'm just adding a quick question. The position paper is called Transversal Collaboration Program between member state and all the entrusted entities, first. Second, Italy is really, putting in place national collaboration program with all entrusted entities, really making clear to the European Commission that if you work between all the entrusted entities and the member state, then you achieved something. If you go to just only one entrusted entities, I'm always underlying EUSPA. We have nothing against EUSPA, but it's different. EUSPA cannot take the uptake of the marine services, of the climate services, and so on, because they were born for Galileo, and you can tell straight away that that's the background and still there. So you cannot do that. So and EuroGEO can be, part of this scheme of transverse.
There is a question. Maybe we have the mic.
Thank you. Marco Mancini from Politecnico of Milano. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Lux, for your presentation. I think, according to what Andrea was saying, probably should be interesting if a group of I am in hydraulic engineering, and maybe we can suggest some operative problems where I personally think, but I think the community think this, that the data from Copernicus may really help. Let me give you 2 or 3 topics. One is, for instance, the coastal dynamics and how the interaction between estuaries and coastal dynamics may play. We generally do this with the numerical models, but numerical models may get information from, for instance, the plume of of an estuary, of the plume of a solid transport, suspended solid transport provided by a sediment to rivers, to understand how behave the interaction between the wave energy and current energy, how play the role of the salinity in this type of ideas, so that we can assess, parameterize our modeling that are in a way numerical lab and that we use for design infrastructures. Another point, and was curious about the next presentation, but I think it is canceled. It was about a kind of early warning system for safe swim, also during the summertime. Most of our village on the Italian coast are equipped with the drainage system, sometimes that during strong thunderstorms may provide a huge discharge of a suspended sediment, most of time not very clean. And this is not, so that the possibility to monitor this after the thunderstorms, when the sky becomes clear again, and see where this plume of pollution moves, may be another topic. Of course, according to what Lux and Andrea said, this is not an overlap on the national agency in charge for this, because, for instance, we have ARPA, but it is a complementary activity because it is a kind of a service that you provide when the event arrives, and not scheduled as, for instance, our agency used to do to check the water quality. Thank you.
Finally, it was a comment, not a question. Finally, what you mentioned is the proposition of new services or maybe improvement of the modeling capabilities.
No, probably yes in some way, but I'd like to put on the table some operative topics that a different research group or operative group may collaborate to And also this could help in setting some ground spot where you can, like we had, for instance, from satellite, from soil moisture stuff but we can in a way replace something like this, some having hotspot or observation spot where people working from ground may concentrate their sampling activity with something like that.
Okay, yes, I think that the land sea continuum is a very important topic. Have a part in land and a part in the sea, and this is connected. So there are a lot of topics to study. Is there another question? And online either? Wow.
Yes, there's another question.
Ah, okay. Yes, we have 5 minutes left. Perfect.
Ready to express myself, but okay, thanks. Okay, I'm Haris Kondoes. I'm research director of the National Observatory of Athens, and I'm actually part of the eShape and EuroGEO action groups, trying to open the forum to the EuroGEO action groups and being in better linkages with the different initiatives and flagship programs of the European Commission for the benefit of both sides, for the benefit of the EuroGEO action groups and the flagship initiatives. And I see 3 terms here. Of course, the Copernicus Marine Services, which is the well-known, base operations and services that are provided. The Marine Hub, no, maybe I'm not sure. Marine Services Hub or something like that. And anyway,
The Costal thematic
the
hub?
Costal Hub. Okay, thank you very much. And the Ocean Mercator. I would like to have a better knowledge about how all this, ecosystem of initiatives, actions, etc., is possible to be linked with EuroGEO, and how the actors in EuroGEO could benefit from all these, different initiatives that are taking place. And I ask that because, we have in EuroGEO, we are supposed to coordinate the action groups and a big community of several stakeholders with all these different initiatives that are taking place. I don't know if it's my question that clear, but okay, it's rather not so obvious to us. How we can bring all these different communities together.
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure to have a comprehensive answer. Actually, the conference today or these days is the provide the opportunity to discuss, to meet, and for me, each time you present something, you reach new persons, and then you discuss, and then this is the first time we met, and I think that we can start something. I cannot describe all the ecosystem of all of this. I think that there is many initiatives, because I think that the European Commission wants to optimize the chance to reach everybody. So I think that this kind of workshop and the discussion we will have tomorrow and this afternoon is the opportunity to meet and discuss all this topic. Yes.
Muriel?
Yes, Audrey?
Could I just jump in and answer maybe this gentleman's question? So if I understood, the question was also how Mercator, the Coastal Hub and Copernicus Marine Service kind of like work together, and how this can be linked with EuroGEO. I have a very simple answer for that. Basically, Mercator implements the Copernicus Marine Service, also implements the Coastal Hub, thematic hub, but also implements the European Office for Geo Blue Planet, which is part of the Geo Work Plan, and which I am the head of. And I couldn't travel, and I'm sorry again to not being able to be with you today, but you can directly contact me. Muriel can give you my contact email, and we can work together. But that's definitely very high on my list for the next chunk of our project is to see how we can make sure that EuroGEO participate in all these activities, and how we are feeding each other's activities and aligned. So I'm very happy about this comment / question, and I'm looking forward to further discussions about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Is there another question? No?
I have a very short one for you, Muriel, actually. No, it's very specific. It's just because Andrea highlighted in his presentation, and I totally agree, that these coastal environments are extremely complex. And as you started your presentation with the Copernicus Marine Environmental Service, of CMEMS, do you think within the coastal services new initiative, you will also integrate the land services and the emergency services like he's doing at national level?
I'm not sure to have understood the question. The question is about the Coastal Hub?
Yeah, it's about the Coastal Hub, if it's only considering data coming from CMEMS, or if it's also considering land and atmospheric. Okay.
No, I've spent several months to discuss with the other interested entities to ask them what were the most relevant products for the coastal topic. So we have worked together to produce, to select use case, product, and so on to feed the Coastal Hub. And for the moment, it's not a funded activity, so it's a proof of concept. So everybody made the best they can. But after that, we would like to collect user needs, collect feedback about this hub, and to go on further. But we have discussed many times with each other together to select the product and so on.
Okay, thanks.
Is there another question? No, it seems that we reached the end of this session. Thank you to the speakers to come and the speakers online. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, everybody who joined in this room. And now there is a poster session. I invite everybody to join. I don't know, I don't remember the room. Is it in the auditorium hall? Thank you. I have to see. Yeah, I have to see. Ooh. I have to see that with. Yeah. Okay. Oh. So it's a so busy month.
It's just
Oh, that's right. Okay. But I was wondering. And have you a brief over about this okay.
There is a center.
Okay.
In a special there is a form.
Okay. Okay.
I hope that this will serve as a strong support to getting and posting the case. And if I write it down very easily.
And what is the difference between the,
Oh, this is the.
the answer you are accepted or not? Okay.
This is.
Okay. So I would like first to take your,
And yes, please.
Audrey, yes, I sent you an email and copy Audrey so that you. Yes, sure. Okay, so I put Audrey in contact, so let me, oh yeah, write it, please.
I should find here, this is another keyboard, I should find the.
This is the, yeah.
Okay, could you please,
Yes.
maybe
The dot?
the dot?
Yes, the dot.
It's not that. Okay, this is my,
Okay, so
this is my email.
okay, perfect. And what is your, the full name?
It's, it's a.
H,
It's
R.
yes. This is my name.
okay. And your first name?
This is my first name.
Ah, okay.
This is my family name,
Aris.
Conrad.
Ah! J'aime pas ce truc-là. Conrad.
My family name.
Okay. And your,
So-
thanks a lot.
See you around.
Yes, because, yes, it's interesting that we discuss.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, so,
Thank you. See you.
my affiliation is research director.
Yes, yes.
National Observatory.
Observatorio.
Observatory.
Sorry. Ah, yes. Intéressé. You are interested in joining the EuroGEO community? No, you are already EuroGEO.
Part of the EuroGEO community that I am supposed to coordinate the different action groups. One thing that goes there, and action group that are members, you know. So the idea is to bring the action groups closer to this initiative, but at the same time to see the beneficial, the mutual benefit of these collaborations.
Okay.
So and then maybe the lady will remember if say that I'm interested as EuroGEO.
Okay.
Okay.
EuroGEO. Ah, sorry, initiatives and Chris, so that I have also your email address and I can write you for the Marine Forum activities so that you can investigate to find the good person.
Yes, actually, about the discussion we had yesterday, I understood that your interest is to have the nominated organization from the Greece or Greek.
Yeah. Actually, I will send you all the details.
Okay,
I know the name of the delegates, but I have no answer from the delegates. So maybe they are not the good one anymore, and the European Commission site is not updated. So these delegates are from the Copernicus User Forum. It should be. So I will send you an email with all the story.
Okay.
And you will see
Maybe,
how.
okay, yes, you sent me your request.
Yes, yes, so that you have information and you can transfer.
It might be possible that I could help you to resolve the issue. Let me speak with the ministry and the authority. I could be eventually the one should take over this, but anyway, that I could tell you. I mean, when I see exactly the request.
Yes, I
okay.
will send you everything. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I send the email. Okay. En fait, mm. Mm. Ah, voilà. Okay. Okay.
You know that I telephone on this guy. How can you realize it? So I have the analyst. And you're going to want to leave? I don't know. I sit down. It's nice. Sometimes you need to plan. Also, portfolio, credo che sia sì, coordinamento delle classi 3, di arte, per 2, 3, parte della c'è la parte del scuola, c'è la parte del nord e la parte di laurea ci presente e poi io gestisco la parte non la parte sì, magari per avevo tu chiamare che ci sono andato no, io stiamo facendo la situazione per invocare il Io volevo discutere con voi della parte dell'auto e quindi sembra che il consiglio di sport esatto, cioè due casi che perlomeno bisogna fare per accettare una riunione con questi spazi qui per impostare come fare questi si chiama caponare solo per attivare quelle cose che fanno gli altri quindi invece di fare no, io sono qua così e la cosa che secondo me mi davate a parte dai è che potrebbero iniziare a impostare sia la parte del testo che informati di 5 di sintesi e non so se avete già visto perché poi questo prodotti sarà il monitoring no, sempre però come lo capite inizio l'ultima anno di dare come sarà così task e poi adesso se noi siamo da rimane le robe legate al drought, queste cose sarà sul sistema, una parte che gestirà produzioni dirette legate a però il secondo professore che diceva il primo che avete messo nella vostra classe che abbiamo e soprattutto secondo me più questa prospettiva di servizi gli altri che si facciano delle attività uguali e quindi secondo me io volevo prima di fare un paio cosa non è facile dire esistere però questa secondo me è la domanda che la legge principalmente e poi possiamo cercare di rispondergli c'è farlo poi provare a girare il ragionamento, questo che volevo ci diranno non fate questo, come lo vogliamo realizzare, questo è l'oggettivo principale. Perché volevo invitare a passi sul canale che vorrei sapere come sono salvi soprattutto prima di adesso mi tengo questa vicenda organizziamo e sarà un paio di misura e quindi almeno appunto in proposto di sentirci online questi che di questa cosa questo non fa adesso brevissimo la proposta di struttura del fatto in cui sono un scolastico che si deve dire cose che quindi quando domani devi fare e non ci sono più quindi mi sta capire un po' gli altri che recordi di numeri metodologici che fai più data, sempre più data, poi dovrei cercare di fare un altro quadro spaziale temporale tutti e quindi facciamo fare italiano tutto quel resto lì esatto, in questo esatto, in questa ci sono due subtask quindi adesso ci sarà questo record tra noi e voi sono quelli che sono sapere tutto utilizzare con la finalità però la mia finalità è che devo continuare a rispondere perché ci sta facendo un po' e che quello che ho fatto allora no, beh, questo secondo me è un punto al quale arriveremo a rispondere quando si sta facendo. Perché lì io ho visto un documento che dice che vorrei entrare a capire qual è la temporale. Poi è vero che c'è la seconda task che è la nazionale, che si intende la task 1, quella unità, la nostra task, che trova ci sono modi che non c'è la parte che si sta essere e trovare ma quindi però la parte lì sacra assolutamente configurata rispetto alla parte. Allora, anche questo serve secondo me per arrivare alla sintesi, perché alcune delle sono fatte a livello di vaccini, alcuni gruppi non fanno a livello di vaccini, altri del piano. Allora, secondo me adesso siamo giunti alla politica. Questa roba è tendenzialmente politica. Ci sono tanti temi adesso dove fare e quindi se noi riusciamo così alla cieca, ecco il nostro sistema italiano che vede stiamo in consigli e quindi secondo me in qualche modo il quadro di investire, capire la strada sia sia parlando dell'EuroGEO, c'è una parte di me che io ci devo per dare, siete bene, facciamo andiamo all'area del banco e facciamo la società italiana, inoltre che ci piace, la parte professionale, la pazienza si sposta la pazienza si serve in mezzo, si prepara poi c'è la parte di me non è un po' aggressiva, accomodante, e dice, oh, iniziamo a vedere quanto. Secondo me si arriviamo noi, perché la nostra vediamo una questione molto forte, gli altri gruppi che ci sono, cioè politici, di foro, le beneficiano, da noi, e arriviamo a aiuto. Dipende molto da quanto ho visto Yes. So, there's no discussion here. We're in our own discussion groups. It says, corporates all. Yeah. We'll see. Yes, yes, this is a pointer and for changing the slide with the
back and forth.
yes, yes, I think so. And the pointer should be this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show the others. that one should be. If you want, yes.
Okay, thank you. Tak, ale zaczniemy. Okay, I think that it's time to start our session. This session will be led by Conrad Bielski and with my help, Stanisław Lewiński. We have 6 presentations because the time is limited. So we hope that 10 minutes, it will be enough for one presentation. If it will be less, it will be fine.
Yeah, and just a reminder of sort of some of the things that are going to happen. I was just reminded to say that the GEO conference in Cape Town is available to everybody, right? Yes. So if you are interested, then you should have probably got an email from Erwin explaining to you how to get in touch if you're interested in going and sort of representing. Yes. And contributing, sorry, exactly. The other thing too is e-posters will continue after our session during the lunch period. So don't forget about that. And all those online listening, you do also have the option to provide us questions through the viewer, and those will be asked of us here. Okay, so to start, Ruben.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. I think some of you might have seen already the e-poster just in the previous session, but I'm here also to talk you through Evoland. So indeed, my name is Ruben van de Kerkhoven. I work at Vito Remote Sensing, but I'm also the project manager of the Evoland project. So it's my honor to present that today. So actually, sorry, what is Evoland? Evoland is a Horizon Europe project. As you might know, the CLMS, the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service, it's about operations. Evoland is a Horizon Europe project that actually tries to support the CLMS by enhancing its quality and also efficiency. It's a 3-year project. We started in January of this year. And so yeah, first results start to kick in. It's getting more and more interesting. So Evoland tries to develop new product chains, new prototypes, working on method development. And the goal is to preserve the continuity of the CLMS, but however, to keep it also modern and attractive. And as such, provide tangible output to support the interested entities, being GRC and EEA, to respond to European policy needs. So, just going fast. Okay. To achieve these objectives, we have brought together a unique consortium coordinated by Vito Remote Sensing of different partners, experienced service providers. We have leading research institutes, but also partners experienced in situ data collection, also novel EU data, cloud infrastructure, as well as user engagement to ensure a successful implementation of the project and also the prototypes. So, as I said, Evoland, it's about increasing the quality, timeliness, and efficiency of the CLMS. So we will develop 11 prototypes or algorithms and processing chains for 11 candidate CLMS services. And therefore, we will first start by assessing the requirements for each of these prototypes. Actually, this work is already has been done. So we have already written quite some reports on that. So we're gathering the user and policy requirements for the prototypes, but also what are the data requirements and the infrastructure requirements. Towards the end of the project, we also will do a full analysis of the operational readiness of these prototypes. And this, of course, will be in close collaboration with our main stakeholders, being the Copernicus interested entities, but also other Copernicus land users. So regarding methods, Evoland will work on innovative method development. We are embedding state-of-the-art AI techniques, working on biomass mapping, continuous monitoring, data fusion, but also integrating novel EU data novel in situ data, and and everything will be done in an open source way. So all the algorithms will be made open source with particular focus on the OpenEO framework. As an example regarding AI, what we will do, working on state-of-the-art weekly supervised learning foundation models, super resolution techniques. So a lot of things are happening. Regarding sorry, it's going fast. It's sensitive. Regarding prototypes, we're working on, like I said, 11 prototypes across different thematic domains: water, urban, agriculture, forestry. And if you want to know more on each of these prototypes, actually, you can consult our website where you find more details describing what's actually the goal, the objective of the prototype, and how it improves what's currently there already in the CLMS. As an example of such a prototype, we're working on improved water mapping. So we're integrating AI techniques like super resolution, but also novel Earth observation data like the SWOT altimeter to improve, for instance, to improve like the water map. So methods and algorithms will be demonstrated and assessed over a number of test sites located both within and outside Europe. So we're not going to make continental or global data sets yet. It's we're focusing on a number of test sites, but scattered across different biomes, so that at least we can assess what are the let's say the capabilities of the prototypes to be upscaled to continental or global scale. So sorry, I only prepared for a short presentation, so 10 minutes, we're not there yet, but if you want, I could talk a bit longer, but haven't the slides yet for that. So if you want to be part of Evoland, please subscribe to our social media channels. Have a look to our website where you will find more news. There's also the possibility to subscribe to a newsletter there, or just contact me during one of the coffee breaks. Thank you. We take questions now, or? Okay.
Because of the time, we decided. Perfect. Unfortunately, just after the presentation, it's not a direct question.
Good morning. I'm Paolo Mazzetti from National Research Council of Italy. You can see my slides. Thank you. And I'm the project coordinator of this New Life for Drylands project. Just waiting for first slide. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you. And the presentation is on using Earth observation for the assessment of nature-based solution effectiveness to combat land degradation. And the project is a life preparatory project on remote sensing oriented nature-based solution towards a new life for drylands. And basically the objective of the project is to provide some means to support decision makers with remote sensing techniques for the design of nature-based solution and for monitoring the effectiveness of these solutions. So we have 4 major activities. The first one was actually to characterize the drivers of land degradation. The second one was the definition of a set of indicators and indices that could be used for degradation estimation and based on remote sensing techniques. Then we are developing a modeling tool, which is a sort of knowledge base linking drivers with potential nature-based solutions and remote sensing indicators. And the final outcome will be a New Life for Drylands protocol. We call it is a set of good practices for decision makers to adopt remote sensing for designing nature-based solution and for the assessment. We have some case studies, 2 in Spain, 2 in Greece, and 2 in Italy. And the outcomes will be, of course, the monitoring model and the assessment protocol. We are in the last 8 months of the project, so we are in the last phases. So we will deliver the first draft of the protocol, and we plan to have consultations with local stakeholders to get feedback. A few details on the technical activities concerning the remote sensing indicators. We have some challenges. One is that we worked on local scale. We were talking about national parks, protected areas, and so on. So in these cases, some free available products like Copernicus service could be not fully reliable. So we had to consider also different approaches, taking into account the real context. And we had also some constraint. Being a live project, we were not tasked with research, so we had to adopt well-known remote sensing indicators and spectral indices. And we, in particular, worked on declining on a local scale the calculation of the SDG 15.3.1 indicators on land degradation neutrality. And of course, another, let's say, constraint was to use free available open satellite data as much as possible. Concerning the model, as said, it's a sort of knowledge tool linking external pressures, degradation processes, potential nature-based solution, and indicators derived by remote sensing that could be used for that. We are developing in particular a web tool for consultation by decision makers. And this will be part of the, sorry, very, very sensitive, the part of the New Life for Drylands protocol, which is a set of operational standards for preparing drylands restoration plans, so for the design, but also for the continuous monitoring of the effectiveness of the adopted solutions. And as said, we are delivering the first draft for consultation with the local stakeholders in Greece, Spain, and Italy. Next actions, in particular concerning the geo context, the idea would be to work on addressing multi-scale issues on particular land degradation and land degradation neutrality, so from local to national to regional level, and of course to global. We would like to do this through the EuroGEO Land Cover Land Use Action Group at the European level, and through the activities in the relevant initiatives and flagship in GEO at the global level, like the GEO LDN or GEO Earth Observation for ecosystem assessment, and so on. Thank you. You can find more info on the project website, and this is the QR code also for. Thank you.
So yeah. So before we wait for the slides, so my name is Gregory Giuliani. I'm working at the University of Geneva in Switzerland, and I'm sharing my time, as you probably know, with the United Nations Environment Programme, the Global Resource Information Database. And in that frame, I would like to, in the next couple of minutes, just to show you the initial work we're doing to improve land cover mapping in Switzerland and to build, hopefully, a national land cover mapping at the national scale using the Swiss Data Cube and machine learning techniques. So first of all, the status of land cover in Switzerland. So the official data set that we have in Switzerland, it's called the Arealstatistik in German. It's a data set that is produced based on visual interpretation of aerial photography every 6 years. And we have 4 million grid points across the country where operators on a 6-year basis, they assign for each of these points a land cover category, a land use category, and also the official, what they call standard statistic at 72 categories. So you have the numbers here on the screen. Oh, yeah, it's super sensitive. But despite the fact that this data set is really thematically rich, the spatial resolution and the temporal resolution impeds somehow to capture the detail of the landscape features, qualities, and particularities, and the rapid changes across the country. So we target for the moment, the test we've done, it's really on land cover. So this is the official classification that we have in Switzerland. So we have principal domains, 6 classes, and then the basic categories at 20, we have 27 classes. Our work so far has concentrated on the principal domain with the 6 classes, but we are already expanding the work to the 27 one. So just as a quick example, so this is an area, you know, on the countryside of Geneva. So these are part of this point that you can see on the screen. So with a space of 100 meters, and then the translation in a land cover map. So you see that it's a coarse spatial resolution and not well suited for environmental monitoring. So we also assessed, based on this data set recently, the land cover changes. So we realized that they are really small and spatially dispersed across the country, but quite dynamic. And identifying the drivers and understand the rate of change across the country with this data set is really, really limited. So we imagine that we can use now more advanced techniques together with satellite data and machine and deep learning techniques. We can improve these stages. And really the idea that we have within our team is to combine different data science techniques, obviously the data cubes, the machine learning algorithms, and the HPC infrastructure, and develop new methodologies so that we can achieve the goal of having yearly medium to high resolution time series of land cover across the country. So, but there is a big issue also related to that, and we realized when we did our literature review, it's the difference between the space first and the time first approaches. So usually it's, and commonly, you all know that we use space first approach. So we use, we aggregate time series, data observation across a given time period, usually a year or something like this, so that we can reduce the volume of image collection and overcome data gaps. But now, thanks to the data cube technology, we can fully benefit also of the time dimension to capture the changes. So that's why Gilberto Camara, that is in the room, has also brought this idea of the time first approach. So really the idea is to classify time series separately and then join the results under the form of maps. So really the assumption, the basic assumption is that land cover classes of interest can be distinguished because of their temporal characteristics, and we'll take into account all the values in the time series, and each spatial location is associated with the time series, and we can track changes across the country. So as a use case, we tested over the greater Geneva area, located here. This is a Sentinel-2 image. We used the Swiss data cube for providing access to all the Sentinel-2 data that we have stored into the data cube. And we are using a tool that is called SITS. It's an R package it's a wall-to-wall framework for land cover classification, connected to data cubes, generating those time series, training machine learning and deep learning models, and then at the end, having land cover maps. So basically, if we have SITS at the core of the work, so we are gathering satellite data directly from the Swiss data cube. We ingest also in the model the points that I've shown before. Then we generate the time series also using NDVI and other indices. And then at the end, we cross-validate, we run the models, we classify, and then we have the accuracy model, and then we have hopefully the final map out of the model. So we use as a use case the year 2018, because that was the last data set that we have from the aerial statistic. We've seen the number of samples that we had over the area. We trained different models. We tested random forest, temporal convolutional neural network, and also this self-attention encoder, which is somehow the state of the art of deep learning models. And we obtain, in this case, the patterns of the different time series according to the different classes. Then obviously, as you know, we have to improve the quality of the sample. So on the left side, we have before the quality assessment, noise sample detection, and imbalance reduction. And then at the end of the process, we have good samples, let's say, to train the model, and we obtain obviously probabilities for the different classes. So as a result, the same area I've shown before, the result before the areal statistic, and the result we obtain now with a much better spatial resolution and detailed area. So just a quick comparison with some transparency, the areal statistic and the result we obtain. So it's way more better. Some results also regarding the cross-validation. As you see, they're all the model tested, they are performing quite well for the validation. But a key aspect is the uncertainty. So we computed also the uncertainty for the different models. So this is for the random forest, this is for the attention-based model and the temporal CNN. And as you see, the deep learning models have less uncertainty compared to random forest. If we compare all the models also that we have tuned, temporal CNN is performing better in our case with an overall accuracy of 90%. And just to compare also with the space-first approach using a median composite, you see that we achieve 82% classification. So the time-first approach works pretty well. So initial conclusions, so the time-first approach is performing better than the space-first approach. Temporal CNN tuned in our case is performing better. Deep learning methods have lower uncertainties. Good samples are essential. Hyperparameter tuning also is an essential task to perform. We achieve a higher spatial resolution. We detect more subtle details, higher accuracy, and we improve also the georeferencing of the map. So it's really an approach that is complementary to the official national statistics. And the next step is to improve the sampling strategy and the representativity of the samples, improve also the filtering and clustering. We want to add also contextual data, such as the DM in the model, add also new indices, such as the anthocyanin reflectance index that can help to distinguish between grassland and shrubland. Compute also the surface comparison between the official statistics and the new land cover product. We are already testing the 27 classes, and it's also working quite well, and test the different nomenclature that we have at the national scale, and obviously also try it with Landsat data because it's also key for the country. And then hopefully at the end, we'll come up with the national map time series across, starting from 1984 up to the present days. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And the next presentation will be given by Natalia.
Hello, everybody. I'm Natalia Costal. I am from National Technical University of Ukraine, Kyiv Polytechnical Institute, and also I represent Space Research Institute, where I have been working for the last 20 years. Our main expertise is satellite monitoring, especially machine learning on satellite data, deep learning, regarding land cover and land use change and geospatial intelligence. We have developed this methodology within several European international projects, starting from Sigma and then EraPlanet and eShape, and as well as machine learning and especially deep learning technique requires high performance computing. We implemented these technologies initially in Amazon Web Services within GeoAmazon joint call, and right now we moved this technology to European cloud, to CryoDIAS and now DIAS, And we are grateful for this to the initiative of Cloudflare EU4UA. It is initiative of synergizing different techniques and products on the European cloud for Ukraine. And also we run project within Open Cloud for Research Environment, OCRE for Ukraine, which is devoted to quantifying war damage in Ukraine based on Earth observation data in support for this initiative. So the main applications which we are doing in the European context is our contribution to the project SWIFT. It is project of USPA to monitor European forests regarding their diseases and different kind of disasters such as wind throw and fires. We develop high resolution map of forest types based on ESA world cover map, which doesn't have different kinds of forest, and using as a training set Lucas Copernicus data set. But main our expertise is focused on monitoring of Ukrainian land cover and agricultural landscape, and we deliver annually the crop type maps for Ukrainian crops since 2017, and right now the crop map for this year, for 2023, is ready, and the overall accuracy of this map is continuously higher than 90%, about 95%. And despite our abilities to collect in situ data for our machine learning models is less right now due to war, we have much less territory to observe. According to our assessment of land cover in Ukraine, we can say that now about 20% of cropland is under the occupation, and it is the most productive agricultural lands of Ukraine in the south and in the east of Ukraine. There are a lot of damages on the field, direct damages caused by missiles, by military vehicles, and here we can see the example of fields which were damaged due to war, and different color depict different time periods when it was bombed. And right now we calculated the total damaged cropland, and it is about 1.5 million of hectares along the front line of this war. And while estimating the total cropland, we can see that due to war, the total cropland decreased last year for 10%, and all these red areas are the areas where the croplands area decreased. And right now we have this year, comparing to 2021, when there were no war in Ukraine, in total 4.5 million of hectares of uncultivated agricultural land, which were cultivated before the war, and now it is not used due to different factors. And yeah, and where we use all this information, not just to look at it and frustrate, but to use it in our government, because right now Ukrainian Statistical Office, for example, has only 60% of their recipients, and it cannot provide traditional methods of statistics in Ukraine. And here in red we can see the oblasts, It is not two areas where there is no statistical data, and satellite observation is the only information about the situation there, about the problems, for example. There are a lot of international support programs for Ukraine, which provide financial support to farmers who cannot use their land, or to farmers who take international support for growing some crops. And it is very important to monitor the efficiency of these programs, and we use our data to understand if this support to farmers was helpful, was caused the improvement of the efficiency of agriculture. And we can see that sometimes in 10% farmers who receives funding for growing crops don't cultivate their lands. So satellite monitoring become the tool to monitor the efficiency and the and help to manage these international programs. All our results are presented in the GeoPortal, which was developed within eShape project. Now it is not open for public due to military situation, but it exists, and it's open for restricted use by Ukrainian government and by other authorized partners. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Now is time for my presentation. It's coming. The first slide will be very nice. Green strip on the top. I hope. Second one, it will be the list of project partners.
Yeah. You can do it with that slide.
Third, it will be a classification diagram. The last one is with conclusion. Thank you. Yeah.
You have a PowerPoint version or no? Because it's a PDF that's making the problem.
I was sure that PDF would be the best.
No, not this time.
Yeah, yes, which.
Good morning. Sorry for the little hiccup. Formatting issue, of course, and we all know that about land cover issues. I'm going to present a bit differently, so I'm not sort of going into any projects, but the title is Delivering on Land Cover Requirements for Policy Monitoring and Compliance. As we've seen through all the other presentations as well. Sorry, the clicker. I have the opposite problem. Is it this button? Scusa. Sì, non funziona. Okay, I'll try and do these things by memory. I don't have as many pretty pictures because actually the way I wanted to present this is to go into the discussion about all the different things that we've seen today about land cover, EuroGEO, and then how that can be pushed into
While he was uploading his presentation, you can, and it doesn't work. So,
okay, so I can keep talking. Okay, maybe instead of that, we can take a couple of minutes for questions to the previous presenters. So maybe we'll start with that before then we get into the more general discussion on land use, land cover. So please go ahead. Anyone questions to the presenters? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question that is related to the compatibility of the taxonomy used in different projects. Is it possible to think about the translation from land cover taxonomy and the other one, also to have compatibility with the Copernicus products or other products? I don't know if this is, I think this is an issue.
Well, in Switzerland, the situation is quite clear because my colleague from the WSL, so the Federal Office for Landscape Research, they have developed already a mapping between the official land cover classification that we have for the country and they map it to CORIN, so we can translate easily then at the end also to the CORIN land cover classes. So we have a direct mapping between the two.
Just to remind that actually we discussed this topic last year in Athens in our EuroGEO action group. And if I remember well, the conclusion was that indeed there are many different taxonomies depending also on the use, because land cover in general is a transversal, let's say, tool for many applications. And we suggested actually that one of the activities of the action group could be exactly try to work on that direction. Maybe if I remember well, we said that we could try to have a sort of general taxonomy and then have, let's say, community-based, more detailed taxonomies for depending on the use.
I would like to add a different perspective than Paolo and Greg. As I have said in many items, I think this is a lost cause. I think there is simply no way that you can name, I mean, especially in a global scale, which is part of this session, to a single taxonomy that would capture what is needed. In many cases, what we have seen in global maps, for example, the latest ESA map, which came out last year, is that it's a map of land cover. And if one goes to one example is the latest European Union regulation on deforestation-free goods. If that regulation is to be implemented, there is to be a clear difference between what is the natural land cover and what is the human land cover. In other words, what has been the disturbance that humans made to the landscape. And for example, if you take the European maps, the global maps, they do not make this distinction. They're just land cover, doesn't tell what the land use is. So I am really, after 45 years of experience, I can really suggest to everyone involved, this is a lost cause. Concentrate on doing good maps, because there will never be, there's let's say, structural reasons why a unique and single taxonomy is impossible, in the same reason that a unique taxonomy of the language is impossible, in the same way that a unique and an ambiguous translation is impossible. The roots are essentially the same.
I see that's already turning into a hot topic, and I know this is going to be part of the discussion after the presentation.
Yes. I will try once again. May I ask for presentation from PowerPoint? I hope that it was the really last copy. Thank you very much. The title of my presentation is Land Cover Classification of Poland, performed every year based on Sentinel-2 satellite images. At the beginning, short information about ESA project, because this classification approach was developed during ESA project, and abbreviation of our classification is like abbreviation of this project. So S2GLC, like Sentinel-2 Global Land Cover. This project was divided into two phases. The phase 1 for developing classification approach, phase 2, it was extension, and ESA proposed us to classify the whole Europe. Project was led by us. It means the leader was Space Research Center of Polish Academy of Sciences, and we collaborate with 3 German partners. The second phase was led by us, and we collaborate only with German company EuroGEO, and they were responsible for validation our work. Next one, please. Okay, here is a workflow of our classification approach. We don't have time to follow all steps, but what is the most important? For each Sentinel-2 tile, we collect a set of data, and with each image is classified separately using random forest, and is very important part that the training is performed based on existing low resolution databases, and having a set of results is aggregation is performed, and we have the final result of classification of one tile. Next is post processing, and we have final classification. It's very important that all process is fully automatically. So it is classification without touching, and this software was prepared by us. During the project, we tested this classification approach, and we classified the whole Germany, Italy, a big piece of Colombia, China, and also we had study area located in Namibia. During the second phase of this project, we classify. Isaac proposed us to classify the Europe. Of course, we agree to do it, and our computation were performed using Creodia's infrastructure. Altogether, we classify over 15,000 images, and the final result was validated using over 50,000 validation points, and we reach, in my opinion, a really very good result. At the end of this project, European Commission and also ESA, they decided to use our map during ministerial summit. It was Geo Week in Canberra, so our map was on the front of European stand. And shortly after the end of the project, Polish Space Agency, they decided to use this classification approach for for preparing as land cover of Poland. And since 2019, we produce nice set of land cover maps. So each year we process satellite images covered our country. In the table below, you see overall accuracy. You know, we are very close to 90%. But you know, in this moment, it's time to improve this classification approach because we have a lot of validation. This product is very well validated, and in this moment, we know what is really necessary to improve. And I'm sure that next year we will reach really very good results, very close to 90%. And please remember that this classification is classification without any manual touching. So it's fully automatic process. And here, just at the end, some examples of our classification. So it's a construction of an expressway. In 2090, it's impossible we don't see this construction, but in 20 is a strip of gray strip. It means that it's a class Bayer soil. And next in 21, it's possible to recognize some pixels which were classified as artificial. After 4 years, we have this express road is finished. We have class artificial. Other example is digging the Vistula split. Is very easy to recognize the progress of this work. And this example, it was for me, it was a really surprise because I noticed that in year 2021, are some circle on the center of Szczecin reservoir. And I was really surprised. First, my impression it was that is something wrong with our classification approach. But I found information that the government, they started to build artificial islands. So maybe it's something like the beginning of our local Alcatraz. And having this nice set of land cover classification, we started we started with change detection, and in this moment we have a methodology which is dedicated to our land cover classification, and this approach will be a part of land cover map, I think, next year. And conclusion, the results of our ESA project are put to practical use. We are very happy that we have a possibility to classify Poland every year, and change detection of land cover will be implemented in the coming year. Many thanks for your attention, and sorry for this problems with PDF file. Really, I was surprised of it. Thank you.
Almost there. So I'm back again. No, shaking his head, that's not good. Just to sort of fill in so that I don't have to repeat it after, but the discussion that we will be having, and I'm going to be trying to sort of promote it, is, as you can see, there's and you notice there's a wide variety of land cover products through different projects for different reasons, both government, non-government. EuroGEO in general is, of course, then trying to see how we can take advantage of that at the policy level. And of course, if we can take advantage of it at the policy level here, then we can scale it up to global and demonstrate some of our technologies and solutions for within GEO. So your question about the land cover classification is valid. There's quite a number of things that definitely we will be discussing. And also, please remember that the things you will be saying today, we will be trying to push up. So there will be a report coming out. We will tomorrow, sort of the high level messages will also be presented. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm Conrad Bielski, EuroExplore. As I started saying, so a lot of the work that we are doing is for a reason. The big reason right now is the EU Green Deal. As you very well know, there's very different themes involved, and the hope is that we can use the information, so geospatial information that either comes from Earth observation or other, in order to support that circular economy, decarbonization, digitalization. Of course, all the data we work with is digital. So again, if we have access to other data sets that can be linked with what we're doing, also would be helpful. And of course, we've seen some of the other themes within EuroGEO, which is biodiversity, and et cetera. We've been talking a lot about validation, setting appropriate targets. We, as the producers, can think about what kind of targets we have to think about, but we also need to provide that kind of information to the policymakers so that they don't think that we can deliver everything. So again, I'm using a very useful statistical, figure about accuracy and precision. So which is more important? For which policies can they be integrated with? Are these kinds of details within the policy, and then can it be moved over to the type of work that we're doing? You can also switch the accuracy and precision with space and time. We know satellites aren't always looking. We have other technologies that maybe can be used in tandem with that. And those are the kinds of things that we should be thinking about, not just as a land use, land cover sort of community, but working together for the goals of policy monitoring. And what is that? I mean, implementation progress. We've seen we need inputs for that. We have to see the outputs. We need to be able to understand what's going on, and then hopefully take that understanding and build on that. So again, policy is something that is going to be changing. It's the current Green Deal. I mean, that's on a long-term horizon. So we do have these chances to use our experiences up to now and then develop new ones as the policy matures, let's say. And the quality of reporting is very important. We're seeing, you know, what's done in different countries. Can the different countries come up with their own solutions, or should we be looking for something more pan-European or, as even mentioned, global? That's always a big question in these cases. And that's gonna affect the design of how we go about. We've seen different products and different people put different how do you say, importance to, you know, how quickly the data is, maybe more classes, but less precise or accurate. So all these things are very valuable to discuss in this context. The next one is policy compliance. I mean, that's the next level, because it's one thing to monitor and sort of tell somebody, hey, you know, we noticed this is happening, this is occurring. But if we really want to change and we really want to move forward, we have to be able to demonstrate quantitatively, even pushing to the court of law. And again, these are in many cases information that is not normally used. So it can't be expert. We should be able to explain this to a non-expert in terms of, you know, land cover, earth observation. And that's really our job. I mean, we're starting to showcase a lot of these solutions, and hopefully we're going to be getting our message to the right people. Because if they can see that, yes, that's available as a tool, then hopefully we can also make policy actions like the Green Deal a reality. Which then comes back to, what is land cover? I know I'm talking to the sort of community, but that's a real question. We are always looking at the technologies. We somehow get into our niches, but we do have to every so often look outside the box and see what those needs are, and talk to people who maybe don't understand what we're doing. You know, the big question came about the land cover classifications. You know, is it sort of easier for the user just to decide what is important to them? Should we be getting the input from somewhere else and then letting them know how well we can do it? Quality over quantity. We have techniques right now that can very easily produce maps and land cover. So, but do we know whether that's applicable in the policy context? So I sort of digress. Definitions, making sure that what we're talking about is well understood by the other parties who may not be the experts. And of course, continuity. These policies will be moving for quite a few years in the future. We need to look back even on what's going on. And that's going to affect, of course, how we develop these land cover, land intelligence services. So as I said, the main discussion that we should be having here as EuroGEO is, you know, if we can do it in Europe, then we can do it anywhere. But again, we know the European perspective, we know how difficult that is, but we still should be able to showcase that. And hopefully some of those showcases will come out in the discussions, and we can push those forward. And European policy, of course, is linked to other global initiatives. We've seen the SDGs presented today, and our land cover group. I mean, it's a let's say the lowest common denominator, and we should be supporting the cross-cutting activities. So not just looking at the usual sort of environmental policies, but maybe linking them up with also other types of policies that can integrate geospatial data with maybe some other non-geospatial data. So that's where I finish my slide. And then now I would really encourage to continue those the discussions. And of course, our session is called Scaling European Land Cover, Land Intelligence to the World. And this is sort of the kinds of things we already started talking about. And I'll just leave, or I'll start with this slide, because these are the types of questions and discussions. If you're not part of the group yet, then please come up to us after and give us your contact. But these are the things we're trying to internally discuss, hopefully come up with a nice answer, and then push forward through EuroGEO and beyond. Thank you. Okay, yeah, no, so please, if there's any, I don't know if there's any questions online for any of the presenters, or we can also jump in directly to the discussion topics. Because as I said, anything and everything you say here will be used in the GRC report. So it's about telling the wider community maybe what are the issues. Maybe you have some solutions that are working, and how should we move forward with that?
Yeah, maybe just a quick thought also about, we are talking about EuroGEO, which is obviously the topic of the week. But I would say in my case, for example, in what I've shown before, it's already beyond Europe, because I'm benefiting with my team to the work done by the Brazil Data Cube team and Gilberto's team developing the seeds solution. So it's already broader and it's already connecting, I would say, at the global level. So I think that's, we will probably bring some European solutions, but we will also benefit from other countries. And I think that's the raison d'être, we say in French, of Geo. So I think that's a really valuable point that we have to keep in mind, I guess.
That was through your initiative or through Geo in some way?
Well, that was definitely through Geo. Yeah.
Any other cases like that?
I wanted to say something else, sorry. No, just some comments. I mean, it's minor, but I think it's really important to understand that we are not only focusing on land cover, but this initial title, it implies that our main focus will be land cover. But I think we should really move to whatever land use. So land use should really become more of a priority, because I fully agree with what Gilberto said. You know, we need to move to the land use component more. We need to move more to this kind of land cover characteristics, so to the temporal components as well. And maybe it should be reflected somehow, or we could just call it land intelligence action group, right? So, I mean, just some, I don't have the full solution. I know you want to just demonstrate there is some kind of land cover initial starting point. But anyway, another point. So you had this bullet point on what we can do in Europe, we can do anywhere, right? So I think it's partly correct. So if it applies to AI and algorithms, you can transfer them easily to other places. But it's not true for available training data. So again, there's a bit of this confusion around reference data. The US people actually, they only use reference data for validation. We need some more clarity on some of these terms, but in Europe, we use reference data for many things, also for topographic maps and stuff. Anyway, that's a minor other point, but the problem is really the training data and the in situ and the reference data, so whatever we call it. There's a big gap in developing countries. There's massive gaps, and we've seen that in many projects. There was very little data in Africa. Really, really hard to map anything because you have no training, and without training, as we know, we're not getting good maps. So I think we need to think about that, right? I mean, you have this, underpinning the role of in situ measurements, but do we want to really do something to close these data gaps? That's a bit of question. To do really globally, really good mapping, you need more good reference data, especially when you go to the land use. The land cover you can visually derive from very high risk, but if you want to go to the land use part, you need much more information on that. Thanks. Yeah.
Yes, please. So since you said that if you can do in Europe, you can do anywhere in the globe, let me talk on behalf of the rest, okay, of the world. As some of you may know, I was director of the GEO Secretariat for 3 years and now back to Brazil. I mean, let's first reflect. I think it's very important from an outsider's perspective and what Europe has done very positively. And I think without any shadow of a doubt, the Copernicus program, satellite, has been a major game changer and absolutely fantastic contribution of Europe, including the guarantee of open data and the guarantee of continuity. So if Europe would do nothing else, the maintenance of the Copernicus program would justify the claim that Europe is doing a fantastic job for the world. Now, the issues regarding land use and land cover, I think, of course, it's very easy. I mean, someone who has been like me around the globe to underestimate what is different elsewhere. Assumptions that we make about what people have and how people use the land are very unlikely to meet the test of reality. It's, of course, very good that we can have cooperations like we have, for example, in Brazil with the Swiss Data Cube, with IASA for a long time, with the OpenGeo Hub, which is here. And I think that's the way forward. I don't really think that a single, let's say, European-based solution can scale up to the world. I have yet to see a case where that is true. That is, of course, not in any way reducing European contribution, which is fantastic in Copernicus. But I think many of the projects underestimate strongly how long does it take to develop capabilities in anywhere. And sometimes we forget how long did it took to get to where the point where Natalia is in Ukraine. I know Natalia for many more years than we would admit here in the gentleman's conversation, but I know that this has been a long, long work in Ukraine to reach the point that Natalia has come up with key statistics. So I think that this is a long shot, and I don't think the solution, of course, developing tools, making them available, this is fantastic. Now, a final point. The new system, which is allow me to call it the new DIAS, will be the proof of the pudding from the blend point of elsewhere. Currently, I cannot use DIAS, but I can use Amazon and I can use Microsoft Planetary Computing, and I can make my software run on Swiss Data Cube. But for example, there is no way, even if I make my software run on Digital Earth Africa and NASA HLS, but there is no current place where you say you want to contribute without asking any cent from Europe, a software that will run on the new DIAS. This is possibility somehow unthinkable for Europe. So please write it down that the new DIAS should welcome the possibility of external contributors which are willing to share what they have and in some ways pay their tribute in the good sense of the word to the European contribution to the global, which has been the Copernicus program.
And we all are very much open to the different ecosystem.
Okay, it's work. But then just comment to the last point. I think since July on CDSC, there's also now OpenEO as a backend. I mean, the CDSC is also now a backend of OpenEO, which comes with free credits. Okay, if you really want to start using it for services.
That's my question. I have a contribution. My question is following, it's simple. I have a contribution, which, as you saw today, was considered to be valid for Swiss data cube. I would like to make that contribution available without asking any penny, any euro at this new CDSS. How can I do it?
What do you mean as contribution? Code or data?
My software runs on Digital Earth Africa. How can my software run on the CDSS? A simple question to ask. I run in a planetary computer. I run it on Amazon. How can my software run? I run it on CPO. How can my software run on CDSS? It's simple. I mean, I want to contribute.
No, I think you can just make an OpenEO workflow and
No, I don't want to make an OpenEO. I have a running software tested that is used to classify Amazonia, which is an area bigger than Europe. I want to contribute that software to CDSS. I'm also, by the way, making our software run as a backend to OpenEO, but that's a side story. I'm saying that because you talked about, my point here is put your money where your mouth is. If you talk about world cooperation, and you simply want someone from the world, which exists, by the way, there are people outside Europe. And then you want to simply say, I want to have my software running, software which is completely tested and validated, and without asking you any money for it, and to fully document it, I just want it to run on CDSS and make it available to whoever wants to use it. How can I do it?
yeah, as far as I know, I'm no expert on that, but I think you can just make the Docker files available and people can just start up the virtual machines on CDSE, which is Open Telecom backend and Cloudflare.
Yeah, just briefly, I'm also not an expert, but a few things I think I understood. And of course, the question is, do you want to run it for yourself or do you want others to use it? That's already a big difference. If you just want to run it for yourself, you open an account, you check whether the platform fulfills all the requirements that your software needs in terms of an environment and whether the data are there and whatever you want to use. And then you have to see whether within the quota that you get for free, what you can do. And if not, you will have to pay like you pay on Amazon and other platforms as well. And then I think you can start. If, of course, you want to advertise it as a service for free or also for money, then it becomes a bit more complicated. But in principle, also, this should be possible. So it's in that sense, it's a cloud platform like any other as well, like Planetary Computer or like Amazon.
We can talk about other things because I mean that's a discussion that I think in Europe we've had for quite some time. So and it's ongoing. Those technologies will keep moving forward. We don't know whether that's something that Europe should solve or not. But I'm actually more interested in for example, the quality assessment. Stefan mentioned the in situ data. I mean, those are the kinds of things that improve the quality of the European data set. And I mean, that's what I meant by scaling, because, everybody knows Korean, everybody knows that it's a data set that is well documented, well validated, it continues. We've seen also today that everybody has in situ solutions in order not just to train, but to validate data. Should those data sets be shared somehow? Because there's a very wide community. Not necessarily the EO community, but the AI and machine learning community that would love to get training there like that. So you're going to because I thought one of your slides did have an in situ service. But can you say anything about that?
Yeah, that's regarding Evoland, but actually I think Stefan this afternoon he has a session, and I think the in situ session there's a specific presentation on the in situ component of Evoland. But what I just want to say on that is actually that indeed having open training data available is important. And I see now that really also the commission is pushing also the service provider to make the data available. So it's there's already quite some useful data sets there existing, but much more is coming up. Sure, that would be possible, yeah. I mean, that's some of the data sets, like I said, are already available on platforms like Zenodo or other repositories. Yeah, as long as they are cited in the according to the licensing, that's fine. Maybe just one point I want to make a little bit also on this validation aspect here. I mean, see, everybody is reporting overall accuracy figures, right? And I'm a bit, yeah, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it, because it doesn't say actually what's behind. There's so much ways of how to report accuracy. As you know, it all depends on the sampling design, response design, and just stating overall accuracies. It's yeah, I think that it would need at least also the way how the validation was done. Was it done independently? Was it done by cross validation? I think that's important, because often users look just to overall accuracies and say, okay, this map looks better, but maybe it has only 5 classes while another map has 15 classes. It has a different sampling design. It's not global. It's regional. This kind of reporting, I think it's important to provide a bit more context, at least how the validation was done. And well, there are some standards on validation protocols, but it's not yet that common practice that people report according to these protocols. So I think that's important, and also for the user base to have a clear understanding how the validation has been done.
Conrad, I wanted to say something if it's time. Yeah. We did a land cover mapping space-time for Europe, 30 meter, and we discovered that it's way more interesting to make these fraction maps, right? And to predict for every class probability, and because it's way more usable, you can do it's more flexible, you can do many things, you can merge classes, you can set different thresholds, etc. And we came up to log loss as the accuracy measure, actually. Log loss. So log loss, yeah, it's called log loss. And you can estimate the log loss. Log like a logarithmic loss. It's kind of that's the measure for the probability space, right? And then we discovered there's no documentation, there's, in statistics, but for the land cover, there's no standards and stuff. And so that's something we'll be interested, somebody has experience, please share with the probability mapping. And the second thing I want to say, I sent an email just 5 minutes ago. We started putting all these legends, everything we find in this category, we started putting it, so we just have it at one place. So we made a Google sheet. And so I have, I think, about 40 tables now, like biomes, Corine, cropscapes, Lucas, global ecosystem legend. Then there's also global impact pressure, change classes, global change impacts, global change pressures. So we started putting all these things. And if somebody thinks we miss some important legend, please let us know. We'll make these legends available in a software. So you can just load the software and you can just say, hey, I need a Corina legend, some version, I don't know, and you can just load it and work with it. So you don't have to enter it manually. That's one of the main things we do in OpenNet Monitor. We want to speed up, people doing spatial modeling and accessing data and using data for applications. So please, if you're on this mailing list that Conrad made, I send a Google Sheet, and if you think we forgot something, please send us, we'll integrate it, and we will make it available one more time in a software so you can load it very easily. You just load it by some code or something and poof, off you go. Eurocrops and things like this. Thank you.
I have just a short comment. Stefan noticed that we changed a little the name of our action group. Before it was land cover and land use. Now it's land cover, land intelligence. We talk a lot with Conrad about what is the role of this group, and also we notice that, for example, action group biodiversity, they are using land cover, so we can say our land cover is used by them. The same Green Deal also. The main part of this work is land cover and land use. So we decided to change the name. So it's and we think that is a good solution, that land cover, land intelligence, because we should be more open for new technology, new ideas. So it will be not only land cover, but also change detection, the use of new technology, algorithm, and also technology. I'm still thinking about quantum computers, because I'm sure that in 2 years it will be not standard, but in this moment is something like we're talking about it. But in 2 years we will see the first results of this completely different approach, how to manage data. And the people who are working with quantum, they are using satellite images because it's a fantastic set of data, and it's a situation that it's difficult for us. It's difficult to help them. They don't need our help on this stage of development of this technique, but we should be very close to this, because we're thinking how to continue the high level of our products. So I think that this land intelligence, is more. It's fine. It's better name of our group.
May I? First, I have a suggestion with respect to the access or to new reference data. A suggestion is we have within GEO the e-LTR network, the ecological long-term networks of sites. We have also within Europe, in this case, the network of Natura 2000's protected areas. Their data, for definition, should be collected regularly in order to monitor biodiversity, ecosystem states, and so on. So why do not take as new reference data sets specific points where measurements are regularly collected within the ecological long-term network system, the Natura 2000 networks? And this is just a suggestion that taking again the issues related to taxonomies and the translation between taxonomies, I would like to remind the huge work done by FAO, which is trying now to develop ontologies related to the description of land cover classes in order to move to land use classes. Within Ecopotential, just to mention one recent closed project, we developed the EODESM system, which is based on the FAO LCCS taxonomy, and which developed a possible translation map between taxonomies. The problem is not only in the name, in the label The problem is in the ontology of the classes. Otherwise, it is impossible, according to my small experience, to deal with the changes. And the issue of taxonomies and translation, I agree with the camera that it's not possible to solve the world land cover mapping with one taxonomy, for sure. But we need to focus on the ontology. So otherwise it will be difficult to answer to issues from the ecological community or from the geology community. Many communities ask us land cover changes, and land use. The last is related to quality assessment. I agree. We need to know errors, uncertainties. So probably we need to agree at global level on specific measurements that should be applied at the end of the production of an output land cover, land use map and the change map. We need to recognize these common measurements to identify first and then recognize and use.
Maybe
collecting reference data is really very complex subject, and we should try to combine existing databases, and how to do it is really is not so easy. And why we found that is a real problem of land cover classification. For example, we produce land cover of Poland. Computation is 2 or 3 weeks. It depends if we using one computer or 2. Next, some weeks for validation. And we need data which are accurate and updated every year. So it's impossible to find this data, and we perform visual interpretation. It took some weeks or months. A lot of work. Of course, we have a nice data set, and it would be fine to have a place where it's possible to move it and to make this our data open for other, and maybe will be possible to use other data. But you know, we have just idea that is really necessary, but how to arrange it just like that, we are not sure.
But I agree with your point. I didn't know about the Natura 2000, but the problem is, even as you as an expert, I mean, you're an expert in your domain and you know where the data is, but we are now talking about Green Deal, let's say, so we're way up there. Different actors, and they would also like to have access to that. And so I agree with you that if we can start bringing those things together in a standard way, in a well documented, then it could become more useful to more people.
Yes, just to put my, let's say, technical perspective. I'm not a thematic expert here. I'm a technical. I'm hearing you talking about difficulties in translating terms and classifications. So what about the use of online vocabularies for ontologies? Some, like, for example, showbook, or I mean, for sharing online these ontologies, these are machine readable. So if I am using machine learning or something like that, I can have access to these descriptions online. I can see the labels, I can put everything together. And this is something, for example, if my description contains that this term is same as, is sibling to another. So this would be a good way forward, for example. This is something that is being done at European level. For example, the EuroGEO is made available through SHAVOC. And this is something, for example, that Switzerland is doing, is trying to do now. And in my view, this could be a good way. And also regarding the description, possibility to learn, for example, validation procedures and so on. This could be done, for example, extending current metadata standards. What we are doing, for example, we are extending stack, which is very well known, but this can be done for DCAT AP or GeoDCAT AP, which will be used, for example, for a high-value dataset in Europe and contribution to the Green Deal data space. So why not contribute all together? For example, we are extending stack through machine learning needs, okay? And also for analysis and processing needs. So this could be a good way to cooperate together, because this is a cross-cutting issue. It's not typical to land cover or land intelligence, how you call it. So, and also linking data set together. This is what we're trying to do with Switzerland, for example, linking the data set together. So let's say this reference data is linked to this other reference data, and this could be done through ontologies and online vocabularies. So this is just my 2 cents.
Okay. Great 2 cents. We're running out of time, so last comments, and then we'll finish up. Go ahead.
Maybe just one quick question to what you mentioned on the permanent networks. I know that at some point, maybe some years ago, ELTER was not publicly available. Has this changed now? Because ELTER, as far as I know, is not an open data set. But maybe it has changed. I would be happy to learn that.
It is a suggestion. The policy are not made by me. I think we could suggest, and there is a big project, ELTER project, funded by the European Commission. So it is possible to interact with the PI and ask to provide, according to specific requirements, some reference data, because for sure they need land cover, land use, and mainly information about the changes. So it is time to put together the results of different projects. And other things, we could also provide a reference data set made by no change reference data. We have automatic, people working on land cover and use know how to detect no change target. We could start to fill a big reference data set made by no change target. The target class still is there. So this could be used as additional reference data.
We can start just using a small set of land cover classes. So it's important to start this process.
Yes,
because altogether is a very complex subject.
No, but I'm glad with the points that were made. Any final sort of suggestions before we finish up? Go ahead.
I want just to add something on ELTER, because I'm personally involved into the process of building the research infrastructure on top of the existing network. So we are on the way. So we have not yet an available, publicly available database of all the data sets that belongs to the ELTER community, and this is true. But there is also an ongoing process, because ELTER is trying also to candidate itself to be a reference for calibration and validation of satellite products. And this is something that we just started, and we started an interaction with ESA to understand, and also we are trying to realize some demo for certain kind of products. And of course, we have to work together to understand which kind, because we are defining now our standard observation. That means that once we have the list of the observation that we are committing ourselves to take on a regular basis, so you will have all the information about the frequency, the kind of protocol that has been used for those measurement, if they are by sensor, if they are not, if they are observation in the field, and also all that would be available with metadata, with standards, so that it would be easier at a certain point to link the needings of the remote sensing community and the needs of the people collecting the data in the field. So we have to start now interact more on that to build something common.
Just to complement as well, here working at the EA, we have been having a few meetings with the ELTER community to try to assess exactly what is needed also from the CLMS point of view. And we are trying to establish this dialogue with ELTER in order to make sure we collaborate together as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. Those who offered, I might come up to you actually because I need your names and contacts. But we'll try to give a sort of couple lines tonight so that because tomorrow during the plenary, some of the issues and discussions we've had here will go public. But then as a group, hey, we're going to continue looking into these issues. I mean, it's great to have new people on board because, hey, you might have the solution we've been looking for. So thanks everyone for your time and enjoy the rest of your EuroGEO.
Bye-bye, thanks for help.
Okay.